Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Tuesday, the 13th of December, comes to you from London. And I haven't been doing Charts Today that much in the last couple of weeks. I've had a man cold. Any of you who've ever had a man cold or have a partner who's had a man cold will know just how serious a man cold can be. Anyway, I'm on the up, but it's taken me a while to clear it. So we are looking at the dollar index. First of all, sticking below that 105 level. That's the critical level. We're really just nudging that all the time. But we do have these downside targets pointing to a weaker dollar. Of course, all eyes on inflation numbers and interest rate decisions this week. So it's going to be interesting just to see how that affects the currencies. But of course, the market prices in what it already believes will happen. So it will be a case of will there be any surprises. The euro looking stronger above that 105 level on that weaker dollar, and the yen, the Japanese yen, sitting at 137, is a long way from that 150 high where the Bank of Japan was intervening, and the dollar has done the job for it, really. Sterling sitting at 122.69, still looking pretty strong. Couldn't quite get through that 123 level, so that is the resistance level at the moment, but we have targets to 124, 130, 72 even. So the high 120s is there, 127, and 130 is that biggest upside target. The 128 target on the 1% chart is the one that we've been watching, and there's another one at 130. So can sterling get into their high 120s? The targets suggest we can. But again, all eyes will be on what the Bank of England does this week with interest rates. Sterling sitting at 116.30 against the euro. So again, looking stronger there. That 117 level just a push too far at the moment. But the reality is we are seeing sterling just strengthening there against the euro, just on the renewed fiscal stance that we're seeing. And even if we look at something like the Aussie, sitting at 181, so we are seeing the sterling actually stronger against quite a lot of currencies there. Bitcoin sitting at $17,000. News this morning that we're seeing the founder FTX going into custody and being arrested, and no big surprises there. And that's having the whole crypto market is going to become under pressure. We've got downside targets to 9,000, and that we think is pretty likely given these other targets have been met. So it really is a sorry state for crypto. The S&P 500 was up 1.4% yesterday. Looking at the futures this morning, we're fairly flat. Little change, so the market is set to open relatively flat. The VIX volatility setting at 25. The VIX tends to rise ahead of these interest rate decisions and the Federal Reserve because markets just become uncertain. Remember, we're pricing in that uncertainty with the VIX volatility. The FTSE future is sitting at 7,450. Can't quite break the 7.5 and hold it, but it is still looking pretty strong. Oil majors being the factor there, but we've had a weaker week on the UK market. Just we're seeing that coming back in the fall in the oil price and probably not helping there. The DAX in Germany, we've got the DAX, the future down 0.03 and the actual cash market up 0.09. So no big changes there. The Japanese market up 0.4%. This has been looking stronger. Japanese banks in particular looking pretty strong. And we're seeing here that we're just holding that cloud support. And you can bet your bottom yen that the Japanese investors are watching the clouds, because the Ichimoku clouds, of course, originate from Japan. Looking at the Hang Seng, we're up 0.7%, so that real bounce off the 15,000 mark back to 20,000. It's a really almost, it's a 33% rise in a couple of months, so really quite strong if you were a bottom picker there, but would have been brave to do so. The Indian market, little changed, of course, still looking very bullish on the long-term chart. And set for pretty strong. Sorry, this is the Chinese market, just starting to cross there, and the Indian market up 0.5%, looking pretty strong, having made those new all-time highs. We see India as a strong shower next year. The the Australian market up 0.3%. We'll look at the energy mix in a minute. We see coffee prices falling. They were back quite significantly, down 7%. Really just starting to look quite bearish on the chart with downside targets there. So quite interesting that not all commodities are rising. Sugar is actually up slightly. And that is actually still holding above the cloud, so looking stronger there. And if we look at wheat, has fallen back a long way from its peak. Most soft commodities have, and we're now just testing the cloud support with the lagging line. But of course, on the medium and short-term charts, we are bearish. Gold sitting at 1784, holding into the high 1700s. Silver is looking quite strong there too. So watching for a move there higher. Indeed. And if we look at some of the other precious metals, we've got palladium just sitting on the platinum sitting on the 1,000 mark, looking pretty strong there too. And palladium, which is very linked to Russia, with a lot of production coming out of Russia, not looking quite as strong. Copper sitting at 3.82, that's looking a little bit better, having fallen away below the cloud. We are just seeing copper starting to move higher as well. US 10-year yield sitting at 3.59%. All eyes on the Fed, of course. So that's quite significant. We're seeing that pull back, and we're seeing that move in the inversion, the yield inversion increasing. Remembering that Fed funds are at 4%, the 2-year yields at sort of 4.3, and this is at 3.6. So we're seeing that that widening of the yield curve being a factor. Tech stock still sitting pretty static, having recovered. Apple's the key. That 130 level is still the one to watch. 130 back in June. That's the low that we need to watch for. And the 140 level is pretty key now as well. We're sitting at 144. So looking at the energy mix now, really interesting this week. We're seeing that crude oil is actually now starting to cross back above the 60-minute cloud. This is the daily and the 60-minute, my medium and short term. And we've got upside targets. So we went out as bullish clients today on crude, and we're up on WTI as well, having crossed the cloud. And we're seeing upside targets there too. Coal is actually sitting at 236, just couldn't get above that 250 level and hold it. We did get there, but we're just pulling back now, so we're pushing back towards that 226 downside target. Emissions, we're sitting at 88.85, really just struggling to break that 90 level. We did sort of nudge it yesterday, but we just couldn't hold it, and that's quite key that we're just pulling back. But the pattern is bullish, of course. Moving to the pattern, sideways consolidation, waiting for a bullish move. 90 is the resistance. And interestingly, we're seeing gas prices fall. It's freezing cold across Europe at the moment, and we're seeing gas prices fall. So TTF is lower, and we held our bearish stance on MBP. TTF, we're a little bit unsure because we had mixed targets this morning, so we went out as neutral. But MBP, the targets were clearer. We're down 1% here. And we're seeing those targets kicking in, the new ones there. So we are bearish below the cloud as well. Looking at German power, of course, we're very close now, only a couple of weeks till the Cal 23 contract expires. We're seeing that off. We're back below the 350 level, so that's quite interesting. But now we're looking to Cal 24, all eyes on Cal 24. And we did break higher last week. We pointed that out on LinkedIn, so that is actually quite significant that we did break higher. We are just starting to see Cal 24 nudge higher. 290 was the high there that we need to watch for a break. We do have an upside target of 291, not quite met. And of course, this new big target building, that is quite a big target and certainly one to watch. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.